I think, or
I see. Okay, got it.
Tiles. It says starting.
Streaming is on.
Whoa. Okay, I think we are live. I see it coming on YouTube. Oh, okay, it got my rubbing of the eye already. I guess we have a little bit of a delay there, but so I think we're live. We're officially on YouTube. Welcome everyone to the first ever CoStarting cohort. Pretty exciting. I think just 2 weeks ago, Arki and I were talking about, the CoStarting and the project I was working on for a while in the back of my head, and that he is working on a couple of smaller projects, and pretty quickly we decided to just do it. And then, we found you guys as 3 more cohort members and developed the rudimentary curriculum and everything in 2 weeks. So I think, from a startup perspective, it doesn't get much faster than that. So thanks for being here, everyone. Cool. And I was just going to launch right into it. We do have 2 hours. I know you guys have 2 hours on your calendars. I don't necessarily want to take up the full 2 hours, but some of you know me already. I do like to talk if you give me a stage, especially a worldwide one on YouTube. So I'll try to kind of control myself. So let me share my screen, guys, and we'll take it from there.
Cool.
Technical difficulties already. Okay, I think that should be shared.
Yep, I'm seeing it.
Great.
Yeah.
Ooh, advanced too fast. Of course, the controls are in here. Can I move those? Hide those, something? No, okay, yeah, we'll just have to live with that. Okay, so I'm just gonna give a general overview of CoStarting and where it came from and what I think this could be and where we are today, right? So generally, I think of CoStarting as a framework and a methodology to which helps people start companies, startups specifically, right? Early stage companies, very collaboratively. So what does that mean? Well, that's what I basically just said on this slide now. But I have been toying around with principles like open collaboration, the build in public movement, the open startup movement, or kind of framework people apply to share what's going on in their startups, and have slowly been piecing together what does it mean to co-start, right? Like co-working, we know co-living, we know we don't know co-starting yet. So we're kind of you guys are making history here. You're coining the term with me here. So pretty exciting. And I wanted to give a bit more context to how I look at it. And I think as of today, there are I'm starting to define 4 pillars, right? Which is really openness, the community around it, collaboration obviously is in the word co-starting already, and then ownership through contribution. And what I mean by that is going to be a little bit more clear here in a second. But openness, really just being very, very transparent in what you do, not just in coding, right? So if we look at what exists today, maybe build in public movements in the indie maker kind of community, that's already established. And more often than not is in a very technical side, right? But I think it can go beyond this, which is my hope for the future for CoStarting and the methodology as a whole, to really bring in all aspects of a company and build it out in the open and be very transparent about it, right? What we achieve by doing so is we inherently build the community already around it, right? We have because everyone has the ability to follow along in what is going on in that startup. Very similar to what creators are doing today, right? We see, tremendously awesome YouTube channels. I follow a couple. I mean, they make bank, really, right? Like they built their entire revenue streams. Everything is coming through their creative, making, right? So be that musicians or whatever that may be. And I think that can go beyond that. I think that we can build startups out in the open and really kind of embrace and share our values and hope that followers can potentially be turning into contributors and collaborators, right? So the broader theme here is also, and this is where it becomes a little less thought out the first two aspects we're going to launch into with this first cohort here we're getting into in a minute. The collaboration, where I see this in a perfect world, it would be great if anyone can contribute to a company, right? It would be great if we could just work on what we are really passionate about. And we see that again in the creative space where communities come together, communities and followers form around specific topics and they volunteer that time. I mean, we see it in open source, again, on the coding side, day in and day out. This stuff works. People like to work on what they're passionate about. And it would be great if we can build a framework and a methodology around to enable them to also become owners, right, of what they're working on. And by owners, I don't necessarily mean, okay, they own now half of the company or anything like that. But if your contribution has any meaningful value to the project or the company it has helped, then there should be some sort of reward, right? And this is very, very difficult because you're getting into, well, it's how you're paying someone, is there equity, what is that? I'm toying around with, consensus-based frameworks there. Think of the, for example, the blockchain, right? It's a consensus-based system in itself. We can tie rewards and ownership potentially to that, where instead of equity, you get tokens. Tokens could be potentially directly liquid if they're on an exchange and so forth, right? This is very, very theoretical at this point, but I wanted to kind of give a bit of an overview of the entire universe of co-starting as I look at it today. Beyond that, there's a couple of things which I haven't put on the slide yet, but I wanted to mention, such as how our decision-making process is handled in a collaborative environment, right? Where I see that consensus-based algorithm, or I call it the algorithm already, but a system. I don't know if it's an algorithm, if that's AI, if that's just a voting system. I have no idea. But decision-making is going to be very, very difficult from the theory already, right? Like, how are you going to make decisions? Who are you going to sell to? What's the most important problem to solve today? So those are big questions. I mentioned the contribution-based kind of framework where I would love to. I've always been personally a big fan of value-based pay, right? Some companies do that more than others. Like I personally don't like okay, you've been here 40 hours, you get $100,000 a year, right? 40 hours a week, maybe not just 40 hours a year. So like the contribution-based kind of measurement frameworks which need to be built, right? And again, this might be easy to think about with programming, but how do we do that for an accountant, for a lawyer, for a business development person, for a marketer, right? So I hope that on the periphery of our first cohort for co-starting, that we can build a community around it to also, brainstorm on these ideas, on these concepts, and develop them together. That would be great. The contribution-based framework then ties into the reward structures I mentioned earlier, right? And on top of that, I think this is now going like super theoretical, but if these structures could be self-organizing and self-managing, again, kind of thinking a little bit open source, open collaboration here, where this already works to an extent, where teams just self-organize, they come together, right? And through pull requests and coding, maybe features are either integrated or not. You have more senior contributors than junior, maybe, and it's kind of just organizing itself. One of the inspirations for that is Frederick Laloux and Reinventing Organizations, I believe is his book, which is a great book, by the way, if you haven't read it yet, where one of those aspects is that self-organization and self-management I'm drawing from here. And then, the community, again, I wanted to emphasize one more time, because by building that community around it, right, and building frameworks and systems and platforms maybe where these kinds of things happen, it would be great to just follow along. It would be great to find the projects you are personally aligning with, your values align with certain things, maybe more sustainable projects or more data-driven projects, and you just dive into them, and you could potentially become an owner or a part of that, that co-startup if you want, right? So I know there's a lot of things I'm throwing out here, but this is the very beginning. So I wanted to give a bit of a framework, a bit of an overview of where the framework's coming from and how I think about it and where it's going next. So since we can't do all of this stuff right away, I have been thinking about this for months, and it's still very foggy in my head. Arki helped me break it down on our call a couple of weeks ago, and we said, let's just start version 1.0, right? Like, what is 1.0? And the two of us, we realized we struggle with launch anxiety, right? I call it launch anxiety. Now, what does that mean? Well, it could be multiple things. It could be you're not launching it because you're perfectionist and you constantly over-engineering it. That's me, right? Hands way up on this stuff. I have 1,000 projects in the past. A lot of them have never seen the daylight because I've always felt like they're just not ready. And that's in a way even procrastination. Procrastination in general is part of the launch anxiety, right? Where if the product doesn't get launched, it's never real. And you are never gonna get feedback from your customers, which is extremely important. We all know it in theory, I think, but really living it is extremely, extremely difficult, at least for me. So we said, okay, let's put together a cohort where we hold each other accountable to just launch. It doesn't matter what the idea is even at first, right? At least for me, it doesn't. My intention here is to just train myself to launch and be less picky, if you want, right? So we said, okay, 1 month, we're going to build it in public. We're going to live stream as we do today. We're going to blog about it, and we're going to give daily updates on it. And that was the core structure. As we see now, we have 5 cohort members. We have 5 projects. If anyone on Facebook, not Facebook, YouTube's already watching, I don't know, or if you guys are watching later, go to CoStartup.co and follow along with all 5 projects. You see the cohort members on the live stream now, and we're going to get into what we're going to do over the next month here a little bit more detail. So again, I'm not going to introduce everyone, but I wanted to give a brief overview of what the cohort looks like. We have a pretty interesting mix, I think, of all kinds of projects. I call them projects because who knows if they're ever going to be commercially viable companies or not. That's certainly the goal, I think, for most of us. But everyone will be introducing their projects and themselves here in a minute. So these are the cohort members. Remember them, they'll be talking in a minute. So what do we do over the next 4 weeks? We're going to kick it off today. We're going to have project introductions and kind of scoping and how much we think we can achieve, right? So one of the core pillars of this first cohort is collaboratively starting something, right? And not 1 project, but 5 projects. Our individual projects, we hold each other accountable. We have regular check-ins over the 4 weeks where we do a progress review. We do a weekly planning for the next week, and we just kind of help each other out, right? If someone needs a logo, maybe one has more experience in that than that individual, and really anything. And the beauty of this is, of course, we're going to do that all in public. Everyone on this call has committed to these requirements on the right, where we will blog. Everyone will blog about their individual project at least once a week. Everyone is, of course, welcome to do it every day if they wanted to. Everyone will at least update once a day. We chose Twitter for now, and we'll get into the framework of how we post blogs and tweets here in a second. And every one of the participants also has put down $100. I know, a whooping amount, but for us, it was mostly just kind of a little bit of a motivational tool. So, and it's kind of nice. You can follow along. We have a money pool. I'll introduce the money pool here in a second, where all of the participants paid in and just kind of put some money on the line that if I don't launch, I lose $100, right? Arki and I originally talked about it $1,000. We did this before similarly, actually, but we thought, okay, let's start small. This is an MVP for CoStarting after all. So we're going to have regular check-ins. At the end of it, we're going to have a final session where we do the launch recaps. Everyone has to have all of their launch criteria fulfilled before our last live stream, if they want to be considered launched. And then we do a recap of the cohort, what went well, what didn't go well, and we will check in with everyone how they feel about their project, right? Is there a go, no-go decision? Am I going to go forward? Was this, did I already lose interest? Did I not prove that there is any value there or not? And then, of course, everyone is encouraged to use any other channels they want, YouTube about it, post it on any hackers, you have it, right? So I was talking about the money pool, and again, in true startup fashion and MVP fashion, we found that PayPal has something called the pool, which is super convenient, and through that QR code right here, every one of you can also reach that pool, and help our participants along. If you guys want to donate to the pool, everything is in the pool and will be shared at the end of the cohort with everyone who has successfully launched. If you fail to launch, you lose your money, right? So the $100 from the participants, that is on the line. We don't expect that to come back. If everything goes well, it comes back. If everything goes super well, we're gonna have some followers out in the world who put in thousands of dollars, and we're gonna get super motivated and build more than we even set out to do. So go to the URL here, check it out, and of course on the YouTube feed, by the way, if you have any questions, you can also reach out to us. All of our contacts are on costartup.co, so feel free to interact with us as much as you want. Again, I want to hammer this home. Miss a requirement, lose your money, right? So we have everyone on the first calls looking promising. We don't know if everyone's going to tweet and blog about it all the time, so we'll see. Getting into blogging and tweeting, these are suggestions. You guys in the cohort, you can either follow them or not. That is up to you. The only requirement is that you do it. The only thing I ask you personally, because I am in the cohort with my own project I'm getting to, but I'm also, of course, facilitating CoStarting. So if you could include the hashtag, that'd be great. We need to make this a thing and get it out in the world. But for blogging, what has worked well with my startups before, some of you might know I went through Techstars earlier in the year, and some of this I borrowed from them, right? The successes, challenges, and asks was one of the frameworks they suggested to us in our blogs and newsletters. Some of you might choose to tie your blog to a newsletter so that people can subscribe to it and it goes out to them on a weekly basis. That content of the blog will probably overlap with our weekly check-ins, which is fine, but it should be much, much more detailed, right? So if you are working on an AI system, document what you use, what technologies you use, what worked, what didn't work. Document your thought process, right? We're building this in public, so make it interesting for everyone who wants to follow along. For the tweets, I suggest a similar but smaller format. I would suggest to tweet about one achievement of the day, the goal for tomorrow, and what you learned today, right? Or what didn't work, right? So I think, and I probably will choose to use a thread every day, right? One achievement, one goal, one learning, unless not much has happened. The core of this and why I made this a requirement is that it will force you to keep yourself in check and think about doing at least a little bit every single day, right? Don't put it on the line until the end of the week. I know it's cliche, but do whatever you can today. Even if it's just an hour. Okay, you wrote half a blog post. Great, that's your achievement of today, right? What are you gonna do tomorrow? You write the other half. What you learn? Well, you should have maybe started a little bit earlier to write that blog post today. Anyways, so I let all of you guys also have a chance to suggest any changes in this over the next 4 weeks, right? None of this is set in stone. So without further ado, let's get into the project of the cohort. Here are all our names again. I don't introduce anyone yet. And since I play this double role of facilitation of CoStarting as well as cohort member, I'm going to just start with my project introduction to give everyone an idea of how this is going to go with everyone, with all the 5 cohort members. So my project is coindrop.me, and it is a Bitcoin wallet. So very heavily inspired by What 3 Words, which I have just recently come across, which is a great project. You go check it out. They map the entire world, and you can basically share a location anywhere in the world, a 3 by 3 meter square with 3 words. Super cool. And I thought, well, this would be interesting to apply to other stuff, right? And I was spitballing and came up with a couple of use cases to have that kind of concept applied to. And I like cryptocurrency, so I thought that BC1QXY 2KG, right? That's a terrible thing to share. Of course, online it works. QR codes are your friend and all of that. But if I'm out, if Bitcoin is on a run right now again, if Bitcoin is going as it has been and it becomes more mainstream, it would be nice if I could just share with Paul, my friend, send Sven money, right? That's what you type into coindrop.me, and that's when the money will come to me. Just very similar to Venmo. We're all used to that usability. So usability is my focus. What's the business model for this project? I have a freemium model in mind. where I will charge $4.99 per custom address, right? So you can go to CoinDrop and just get yourself your wallet with any random words, right? Stairs, night, rain, whatever it may be. Or you can, kind of like you would buy a domain, you can reserve your custom address, send Sven money, or pay me now, whatever you want, Apple, with the yearly fee of $4.99. That's kind of how I think about the business model right now. The scope, since we only have a month, scoping the projects right is important. So for me, I don't think I can handle setting up the entire wallet and making this all secure. That's a lot of work. So I figured, again, in startup methodology, let's just prove the concept and see if people would pay for it. So what I will set up is the core functionality of that word algorithm, put that on a landing page, create the functionality for people to sign up, and then I'll have to see where it goes from there. If there is traction, then I'll build out the wallet system and everything behind that. My launch strategy and slash marketing strategy for this project is to promote it on Product Hunt, Hacker News, and Indie Hacker, because this is very, very close to the Indie Maker kind of way of doing things. And I have been on those pages pretty much every day over the last couple of years anyway. So I think it's about time that I get engaged. And then, of course, I'm going to pick out more domain specific for my project, and I decided on 5 crypto focused Facebook groups I'm going to promote it in, or just announce it in and see if there's any traction from that. Everyone will set their own success criteria, by the way. So this is the format you're seeing here with those 5 boxes, but everyone has their own success criteria on what they consider launch means to them, right? Just throwing up a website and calling it coindrop.me, that's not going to be enough, but everyone knows their own schedule. Some might have full-time jobs. Some might devote their entire time on this project. That will change the success criteria. And we wanted to give the makers and the participants the ability to do that themselves. My success criteria is that I wanted to get the products live, of course. And that means I have that word database ready, which I need to define what words am I going to use, any word or just nouns, not sure yet. I'm going to have that algorithm ready to tie, to create those 3 words. And I have that sign up and pre-sale functionality ready on the website. So that means if someone comes tomorrow, in 4 weeks, to the website, types in the 3 words they would want, they can reserve their address, and they won't get charged, of course, until the wallet is actually live. That's my project. Let's see how it goes, and we will hear from the next one. Oh, sorry. No, not yet. I put those slides together, and I don't even know what I did. So there is a timeline to every project. We break it down on what we think we will do. We will see if that's actually going to pan out. You guys can follow along and hold us accountable. But I think in the first week, I'm going to get the word list together. I'm going to set up a database and design a website. The second week, I'm going to make an algorithm for the word list, make sure that the database in the background works for the functionality. And I'm going to set up the website for this. By week 3, I wire all of this up, integrate a payment gateway, and test everything. And week 4 is entirely devoted to launching it. Launching in itself and interacting with those communities can be quite a time suck. So I did want to give myself quite some time. And what the other advantage of week 4 is, if I don't get this done in week 3 or by week 3, everything, then, I can slip into week 4 a little bit. I need to just have all of this done before the last live stream, which is, in 4 weeks from now. And we do track KPIs. We decided that it might make sense to track KPIs. Don't pay too much attention on this right now because we're just starting. Of course, there is nothing to track quite yet. But these are the things which I think will make sense for me, right? Like how many people do I sign up? Do I have any pre-sales? How many people visit my blog as I built this in public? And then how many interactions do I get from my Twitter feed? All right, this was it for me. I hand it over to Emmy and I let her talk about Giglit's garments.
Yay. Hi, I'm Emmy. I care a lot about the planet. I think it's pretty cool. And I think that sustainability and kind of reducing our impact is one of the biggest topics, most important topics in our day right now. So Giglit's Garments is kind of my way to start to reduce that impact for myself, as well as starting to inspire and kind of get people talking about how upcycling and sustainability can come into our everyday lives. So Giglets Garments focuses on mostly right now the 11 million tons of textile waste that the US produces per year. So business model. So for this project, I'm going to focus on kind of the community aspect and getting our message out there. We're going to have a free content kind of base, and it's going to drive traffic to a paid subscription based community that's going to have like kind of more premium content, access to patterns, and that kind of more paid information. And then also monetize followers by driving traffic to my online store, which is what I'm doing right now. The scope for this is going to be to build the followership. So I have big, crazy plans and dreams, but for this month, I'm going to focus on the followership through my marketing, the launch strategy. I'm also going to post in 5 upcycling and pet Facebook groups. Oh yeah, I don't even think I mentioned that. The focus of Giglets Garments is upcycling textiles for pet clothing and accessories. And I'm going to also, I have 2 current Instagram accounts that have a little bit of traction that are both kind of in that space. So I'm going to be utilizing both of those. And I want to kind of find some similar creators in the upcycling community and cross promote with them a little bit as well. So that's my launch strategy. And my success criteria, I'm going to get a community newsletter up and going and have 5 followers, send 4 of those newsletters by the end of the cohort. And I'm also going to start my YouTube vlog and have 5 subscribers by the end of the month with 8 videos released. Timeline. So first, of course, I'm going to launch my vlog and my newsletter. I have to create all of this messaging that I'm going to send to people to try to get them interested. So I'm going to work on writing all the Facebook group messaging and messaging to the other creators to get us in contact and talking. I'm also going to work on my week 1 newsletter and 2 videos, as well as my week 2 newsletter and 2 videos, just to take some of that pressure off from week 2. Second week, posting in those Facebook groups I talked about. I'm going to reach out to 30 creators and hoping that I'll get 10% of them to actually want to cross promote and feature each other. I'm going to send out that newsletter and the 2 blogs that I hopefully made the week before and work on my Instagram strategy. Week 3, same thing. I'm going to write the 2 newsletters, the 4 videos for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to work on it, implementing my Instagram strategy, and also, of course, following up with all this Facebook group action that's probably still continuing to take place, and reaching out with the creators and stuff. I'm sure there'll be a lot of talking and stuff still going on. And then finally, week 4, I'm going to launch the cross promotion of the other co-creators, hopefully, who have featured me on their blog. And I'm going to, of course, launch my newsletter and my videos. So my KPIs that we're going to track are going to be my YouTube subscribers, my newsletter subscribers, my sales, of course, which everything hopefully is going to drive back to sales, and my blog visitors. And I guess that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy.
All right.
Justin.
Hello, all. My name is Justin, and recently I've taken up an interest in investing. So I thought that creating this project here, Optionator, would be a good project to kick this cohort off with. Optionator will be an easy-to-use desktop Mac application that will help users calculate and view returns, profits, losses on their stock options. They'll pull in real-time data from the stock market. And users can utilize that for either looking out and testing different investment strategies or playing around for fun to see different outcomes based on actual data, and also for tracking your actual portfolio. The business model here, there are, of course, a number of competitors in the field, whether that's for the desktop Mac or different online services. So this will be, being a desktop app, it will be a one-time cost of $1.99. So it won't be freemium or with ads or in-store purchases, or in-app purchases rather, which you see a lot of the current solutions have. The launch strategy will be to discuss this on different investment option trading forums and subreddits on Reddit. And then also I'll be using a integrated development environment called Zojo. So they have a Built with Zojo showcase to help promote products built with their platform. With the scope, actually, I kind of outlined here what the timeline will be. So I'll skip over the scope because actually it kind of goes into the success criteria, with it being that at the completion of this cohort, we'll have the app live in the Mac App Store available for purchase, and that we have at least one actual paying customer that was not held at gunpoint to purchase. So kind of keeping the bar a little bit low here, but also on the Mac, with a much lower user base than Windows, figure that's a good place to start. So moving into the timeline, week 1 will be, I put learning, but more so mastering, hopefully options trading, investing basics, and relearning the Zojo platform, which is something that I had experience with many years ago. Week 2 will be building out the initial user interface and basic functionality of the application. Week 3 will be completing the basic app functionality and preparing the creative to be used for marketing, and the creative that will be used on the Mac App Store. And week 4 will be finalizing the development work, creating an account with the Apple Developer Program, working through the different signing and sandboxing requirements that are needed to publish on the Mac, and then go live. And then moving along to the last slide are the KPIs, which are a bit difficult, I think, to work on an actual software product that won't be launched until after the completion of the cohort. So I figure the first metric will be page views to whether my blog or if I create an actual product landing page to help promote it. And then secondly as well will be sales, which of course will only be counted post cohort. And that's it for me.
Great. All right. So I'm next. So my name is Arki. So maybe a little story behind Umami. So in 2020, the first day of January, I started an Instagram account where I posted everything I cooked for the year. And I grew from 0 to currently, I think, 1,400 followers. And it's been interesting. And what I've noticed, or at least a struggle for me on this account on Instagram, yes, I use it for a lot of inspiration on what to cook next. And I've seen also that Instagrammers kind of influence each other, kind of maybe this week use a lot of, whatever, like Greek salad. And then next week you see bread and so on, right? So there is definitely the influencing. So I wanted to build this tool, and it's just a project. I wouldn't call it a company, or the intention is not to build necessarily a company around it, but just a tool, right? It's an Instagram bot that it's continuously monitoring a topic, a food topic like barbecue or vegan. And it's important for me that this is configurable because you have different interests on what to cook. And I want this bot to browse all the data, all the trending channels and whatnot, and come up with a weekly recommendation on a recipe to cook next. And this is an interesting problem because it's not just a picture, right? And it's not just the title of what's on the picture, but I would like to filter out by actual recipes, right? So that's from the technical side. I'm interested in that problem. Okay, it's back. See, so I guess the business model, right? Ideally, what I would like to see is that this bot is free to use for a month, and if you like it, maybe subscribe for $1 a month if you find it useful. And just to validate whether this is of any value at this point in time during the cohort, I think setting up a donation page, right, for people to for them to just donate whatever they feel like, or whatever the minimal amount is, And if they find it useful, and then that would be a way to track whether anyone's interested in it, and two, whether anyone is willing to pay for something like this. And I think within a month, a simple algorithm to find these recipes reliably, right, versus just a title and a picture, but an actual, at least a list of ingredients would be the first step. And of course, targeted towards a one hashtag like barbecue, or if you're into vegan, finding those relevant recipes. So what I expect is that, well, Instagram will be my main platform, because at least I have there some like contacts that I could use to advertise this. And I'll be documenting this on Twitter and the blogs, right, as required by the cohort. So I'm setting also like something realistic. First is, yeah, the whole point of this cohort is to launch. So I want this working bot giving recommendations on Instagram. And I'm setting the bar to some donations. And maybe this is not the latest version, but I was thinking about it. So $5, how could I control that, right? I think at least someone paying for it. And I was looking into what platforms could I use, and perhaps the Patreon. It's an interesting model because it lets people kind of subscribe and support you on a monthly basis. And at the minimum donation or subscription is $2. So I may consider that, but that will be defined later. So moving on to the timeline. So as I said, week 1 is to implement the basic algorithm, figure out what APIs, how the API looks like, what packages are already available for me to use, test it, come up with the first version. The week 2 would be really on thinking on how this is going to be working nonstop. Also, how people will be able to configure it, right? Because a user A may be interested in hashtag barbecue, whereas user B and C in hashtag keto and some other hashtag. So I need the way a way for them to configure it and really target those recipes to these users explicitly. Week 3 is when I'm going to start a campaign on Instagram through the Umami's Instagram page, but also perhaps reaching out to some of the food enthusiasts that I know. And the week 4 is release the bot, right, into the wild. Hopefully, people will find it useful. And I thought of the KPIs. I think one reasonable one is Instagram followers. And these numbers, I thought about them a little bit. I think I'll stick to them just as a personal KPI to track and see whether I hit them. So donations, I'm targeting $5 at the end of the cohort. How many recommendations? Since this is a 4-week cohort, I'm expecting to put out 4, like at least, not at least, but 2 recommendations per week. So that would make starting week 3 2 and the week 4 total of 4. And it's hard to harvest all these Instagram likes, but I thought it's also an interesting indicator of whether people like it or not, right? So here I'm being more conservative, 10 to 20, but that's about it. So that's Umami, and I'm hoping also that not only the recommendation itself, but I'll be linking a lot of the hashtags that are relevant. So I have a few other ideas on how to enhance the experience. So just a word about the CoStarting. I think these interactions that we've been having over the Slack channel have been useful, right? And also encouraging. And at least the most valuable thing as of now about this, doing the cohort with you guys, is that, yes, it's almost you feel like a part of something that others are going through as well with you. So I find that valuable, and I really look forward to completing this and just launching. So thanks, guys.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm Steve. I'm trying to put together a project called BabbleBox. BabbleBox aims to be a one place where users can manage their communities, focusing right now on communities like Product Hunt, indie hackers, subreddits, and Hacker News. The whole premise revolves around being prevalent, engaging, and helpful in these communities. I find that too often makers are always trying to find a way to sell their thing, you know, market their thing. Building audience first, I think being helpful in these communities helps makers. Basically, they're prevalent in these communities and are seen as, you know, someone who has some knowledge, and they also can, while helping people in these communities, they can also promote their own thing. So what they're doing essentially is they're answering questions around what their product does. So it's essentially indirectly promoting them. So BabbleBox aims to do this at scale. So it's basically like a buffer or a Hootsuite, like a social media scheduler, but for forum-based communities. So that's the premise of the project. I'm just gonna go for right now, focus on the business model. I'll probably do like a 14-day trial, shooting for $40 to $50. I like taking a page out of Buffer when they first initially launched. I believe they had one pricing tier. So that's what I'm going to do for the business model right now. And in terms of launching, you know, I'm basically going to take my whole premise of audience first building and launch in Product Hunt, be helpful in Indie Hackers and Reddit, Hacker News, try to be engaging, try to get people small wins, basically. If people are stuck, you know, I try to use my knowledge of what I've done and just to give them basically some type of rocket fuel to get them over a hump that they're currently facing. In terms of, so that entails like putting out, you know, feelers like on Indie Hackers and making myself available. You know, I found that's a great strategy. So I'm basically scratching my own itch with this project. If I could do that at scale, that would be awesome. And I can manage like all my communities in one place. The scope, you know, I'm thinking that I can get it. I'm not a technical maker, so I'm trying to just focus on my strengths of trying to design it, trying to wireframe it up, trying to actually get some pre-sales. Maybe that's maybe like $2, $5 initially, just to show some signal that this might be a problem that people like have and want. Trying to be more of a pain reliever rather than a vitamin for them. So in my success criteria basically is just have my clickable design ready to go in a month, 20 pre-launch email subscribers, and 2 pre-sales. So week 1, I guess this week, I got a good start on my wireframes already. And then week 2, I want to get my landing page out and start putting feelers out in the communities, trying to garner some early signups, and try to finish up those wireframes. And then in week 3, I want to have at least 10 email subscribers, early signups, and some sort of face for the actual product to put in front of potential users to play around with. And then at week 4, I want 20 emails and I want 2 pre-sales. And my KPIs right now are a little all over the place, but I want to create a piece of content, put a piece of content together and put that out into the communities that I'm focusing on, trying to get that viewed. And then also when I say having at least 5 indie hacker engagements, I mean putting myself out there and helping at least 5 people while indirectly promoting my product. And then 2 pre-sales, you know, that's pretty much what I have right now for my KPIs. And that's Babblebox.
Awesome. All right.
Cool.
Okay, so I think I didn't have my video on in the beginning, and I tried it while you guys were talking, and I think it kept going. Our video stream kept going haywire when I did that. So I hope it's okay on YouTube, but we'll see. So thanks everyone. This is pretty exciting. I think so. First of all, I wanted to say to the community out there, to our followers, right, and hopefully they're building. So one way to ensure, for example, if you're so inclined, if you want to, that I think Archie was reaches his success criteria and doesn't lose his $100, is just donate about $1, right? If 5 of you do that, he's already halfway there. It doesn't matter if you like his product or not. So just a shout out on that side. But of course, ideally, you would like his product. Yeah, again, thanks everyone. I think one more thing I wanted to mention is that what you guys are seeing here on these slides, or what you have seen on these slides, is all on the website as well. So all of the 5 product overviews are on the website. All of the channels the makers are using are linked to those. All of their blogs, which again hold them accountable. They have to blog every week. Their Twitter channels are on there as well. So you have easy access to every project, know what's going on, follow along. We will also keep updating the live stream link on the website. So every week, the box will be on the website. Or of course, you can subscribe on YouTube, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. So you can make the chatter on YouTube. I don't know. Once we have like 100,000 followers or something. And all of this will go back into CoStarting, right? So this is wishful thinking right now, and I was actually mostly joking. But as I say this, it of course would be great if you guys can share. If this sounds at all remotely, interesting to you guys, as a follower, as a potential cohort contributor or member, maybe mentors, maybe we look at the concept slightly different going forward, right? So all of these things are very much just out there now for feedback. And hopefully, you guys have a lot of that coming. We have a sign-up box on the website as well for future cohorts. So this is what we call the launch cohort, and future ones will be similar. So if you're in very much an idea stage, you just want that peer group, that accountability group to help you through this. It doesn't have to be 1 month, by the way. So this is all flexible by cohort. And if you're interested in that, sign up. As we go through this cohort, I will be thinking about what's next, right? Like after we have this go, no-go decision from everyone, what are those people going to do? What is Archie, Justin, and Stephen, and Emmy going to do with their project, and myself included? Like, are we going to continue? Are we going to, need another launch cohort? Because mine, for example, it's not just the product's not going to be built, right? Do I do another, or maybe 2 or 3 launch cohorts until the product's built out? With potentially the same group or another group, right? Who knows? And then what's after that, right? Is there a product market fit kind of MVP market fit cohort? And what's after that? So really the future of CoStarting is very much out in the open right now, and just hoping for a lot of input from the community and from the maker community and from the startup community and from anyone who finds this interesting. So I think that's more or less what I have to say. I'll open it up to the other community, the other cohort members here, and let's just have a couple minutes of conversation. We are really good in time, at least according to our calendars. I don't know for YouTube video monetization length, I have no idea. But let's open it up. If anyone has any questions, suggestions, and concerns about the requirements. One last question I will start it off with one question to everyone. Like, is everyone in agreement that we are going to play this hardball, meaning that if one person doesn't blog one time, they're out? They're not out. Hopefully they will still continue to work at launch, but effectively they lost their $100. Or are we gonna open it up a little bit more flexible and play it by a gentleman's agreement, if you will, and then kind of vote at the end of the cohort. And if we think everyone gave their best effort, how do you guys think we should do this?
Well, if you do $100 every time you miss a requirement, I think that will change everybody's tune.
That is true.
Or could be $25 per missed blog.
Right. Yeah, I like that. Justin is doubling down. $100 every tweet that's not coming out. I'm going to change my product focus, and I'm going to write something which intercepts your tweets.
Well, I think as far as for this cohort, since we've already, of course, agreed to the original terms are 100 for the duration. I think, though, I'd say hardball. You miss a weekly check-in here, the meeting itself, or a blog post, etc. Then I don't know if we want to do a tally up a vote here or what. But I'm for playing it hardball.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, let's do it.
Same here.
3 strikes, you're out.
4.
I mean, yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, the only I think we all already committed, right, to each other that we're going to do the weekly things at the very least. I think the only one where I can see people are gonna potentially have trouble is the daily tweet, but also it doesn't have to be a fantastic tweet, right? I think how I suggest looking at it is that's not pressure. Oh shit, I didn't tweet yet. I need to still do something. It's like, no, it's also okay to then just potentially say, like my daily achievement is I haven't gotten to anything, right? Because like that's just life. And I think that brings me to kind of a point of how the startup world works today, and what we usually look past or beyond or miss it kind of is that psychological aspect of everything, right? Like everyone has a life. There's a lot of shit going on in the world. So if these things happen, that's fine, right? Like we can also have a conversation around that. And so it's more like just commit to doing it. But I'm also okay with if we want to do a 3 strike on the Twitter, for example, or something like that. Everything is open for discussion.
All right. I was thinking that you were talking about having different cohorts. I don't know, just spitballing. Like maybe maybe as people go through stages. So the first cohort, not cohort, but like we're the first cohort. So let's say we have this stage is ideation and maybe validation, and then the next step would be maybe making something and getting signups, and then go through the life of a startup. And then as we progress, you can bring other cohorts on at a certain point.
Right. So closer to kind of a more traditional incubator, but like with this virtual setup and everything, right? Is that what you're?
Okay.
Yeah. I did think about this before too, and I mean, quite frankly, like I don't know, right? And I don't want to make that decision either. I think we will be our first guinea pigs, and we will have this conversation ongoing. What we would need, right? Yeah. And we are the market right now for CoStarting. A very small market, but a market nonetheless. And hopefully we can get some feedback from you guys out there. Like leave a comment in the feed below, or shoot us an email. There's a contact form on the website. There's 5 Twitters. Tweet at everyone, and let us know what you think you would want to see if you were considering joining something like this.
Also, if anybody out there is watching and needs help on something on their project, reach out to us wherever, because we all have different experiences and expertise. So
I love that. That's a good notion. I think give first is Techstar's motto, right? I don't want to steal that directly, but it's a good motto. Really just think about what you can help others with, and if you believe in karma or not, but the stuff comes around usually.
Yeah, having a servant's attitude for everyone. We're completely all helpful.
Anyone else? If you guys don't talk, I will. You know that.
So confirming as well, because I know Steve had mentioned that he was doing some work through, this past week, and today being Friday, kind of backwards here. But today kicks off the beginning of the cohort in week 1. So week 1 begins today, correct? And then
Yes.
Cool.
From a structures perspective, that's how I was looking at it. Yeah.
okay.
If you already did work, great, right? Fantastic. So for everyone out there, like we started, of course, this conversation over the last, I think, week or so, and everyone got really excited really quickly. So we came up with our ideas, and we have a Slack channel, and I think eventually we'll probably consider opening that up as well, for people to just join the conversation, right? Join the community, and as we go along, the more there's maybe different avenues we can look at, the Discord channel or something like that. But yeah, that's the first week. So you didn't have to have the first week done by the day.
See, I'm slow with all the directions. Like, I need to ask you about the weekly blog. Like, how often do we do that? That's once a week at the end of the week, right?
That's a good question. Yeah, so I was gonna suggest to do it in the middle of the week.
Okay.
So we have, because I'm looking at the potential followership for every project, right? Like, I'm assuming if I was going to be interested in Umami, for example, I was going to watch the YouTube streams, and then I have a blog at the same day, which will overlap in content. So I was going to suggest that we do Fridays for now. We have the check-ins, right? And then maybe Wednesday is the blog posts or so, right? Like, if that's Wednesday or Thursday, yeah, that's up to you, or Tuesday or Wednesday maybe. So that we kind of have, for the people who follow along, an easier rhythm.
Okay, cool. And the same thing with the tweet.
Yeah, I mean, any time of the day, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, right? If it's, I mean, I don't know. Like, hardball, yes, but if that's a minute after midnight, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't think that's the point. I think it's, okay, you are working, right? If you work at night, if you prefer to work at night, and that's at 3 a.m. in the morning, that's fine, right? Like, I think that's the key here is everyone works differently, right? And I think, like, we went through a terrible year with the pandemic and all of this, but what's kind of great about it is that forced remote working gives a lot of people now more freedom, right? And I think we all have been in that kind of environment more or less already before. But why I started thinking about CoStarting, one of the reasons is that it would be great if I could just work how I want, when I want, where I want, on what I want, right? And of course, this is a lot of what I want,
Yeah.
but the world's going there, right? I mean, what percentage of the workforce is freelancing today? And could there be more than just a paycheck? And could I just join into a project without having to be an employee, like, so in all of the things I'm writing down about CoStarting, like, in my mind, there is no employees or bosses. Everyone's a contributor. Some might be more senior and some might have more decision-making power. I don't know, that someone also needs to pay for stuff, right? But it'd be a great world to live in if there was an Upwork for startups. I can just join on certain things where I can actually make an impact, right? Because I won't join anyone to help them on their legal side because I don't know anything about it. But maybe I can help on, writing, I don't know, or helping set up their blog or writing a little bit of code or something, right? Whatever I enjoy, and if the company is, aligning with my values, for example.
Yeah, like you're let in based on merit and what your skills are and what you've done so far, and maybe the founder can maybe put a bar, for that person to reach until they let them in, so doing certain things just to prove that they can do the work and they're useful for the company.
Right, or turn it around, right? So that's where I started actually in my mind. But then again, I think a lot about open source, and it's the other way around. Well, not always, but like, you can just develop it, right? Like, and that's the analogy is always easiest in code, but if you just say, okay, I want to just be helpful, I don't know how many of you guys listen to the Startup podcast by Gimlet Media. Great podcast, by the way, for anyone out there who hasn't listened. They built their podcast out in the open on the podcast, right? And it's very, very interesting. And one of the beginning episodes was him trying to find a co-founder, and the guy he started to work with, he just jumped in and he just did things, right? And they didn't talk about it for long. Like, he was just helpful. He made like the business plan and whatever it was. And then that naturally developed in a co-foundership. Now, I don't know if we need a concept of a co-foundership at all, really, because we're talking about, quite a new way of working here. Mm-hmm. But if that was possible beyond code, right, where a platform or the systems, the framework, and the methodology could facilitate everything being out in the open, and if someone needs a logo, whoever wants to create a logo creates a logo, and whichever is the best gets voted in, or the consensus algorithm decides that's the best. I don't know. Like, how it all works, I don't know. But conceptually, it'd be great if there was no barrier of gets voted in, or the consensus algorithm decides that's the best. I don't know. Like, how it all works, I don't know. But conceptually, it'd be great if there was no barrier of applying